Before humans had fire, dinner was not dinner in any modern sense. There was no cooked meat, no roasted roots, no boiling water, no toasted nuts, no warm stew, no smoke-dried food saved for later, and no comforting idea that heat had already killed most of the things that might try to kill you back. Food was not something made safe by a kitchen. Food was whatever the landscape offered, and the landscape did not care whether your stomach approved. So what did humans actually eat before fire? The answer is less clean than most people imagine. It was not one perfect natural diet. It was raw meat when meat could be found, softer organs when a carcass could be opened, marrow hidden inside bones, ripe fruits that gave quick sugar, nuts and seeds that could be cracked or chewed, leaves and plant parts that were worth the effort. Insects pulled from wood or soil, larvae, termites, grubs, honey when anyone could reach it, and roots or tubers that were useful but much harder to digest without heat. The important thing is that eating before fire was not just about taste. It was about physics, biology and risk. Raw muscle was tough. Raw starch gave fewer usable calories. Spoiled meat carried danger. Natural water could carry parasites. A food that looked edible might be poisonous, contaminated, too fibrous, too hard, or simply not worth the chewing. Before cooking, the body had to do work that fire would later do first. That is why fire changed the human story so dramatically. It did not merely make food warmer or more pleasant. It made food softer, safer, more digestible, easier to chew, easier to share, and easier to turn into energy. But before that transformation, early humans had to survive in a raw food world for a very long time, and that raw world was not simple. It demanded strong jaws, sharp memory, patient foraging, tool use, risk-taking, social sharing, and the ability to learn which foods gave energy and which foods gave sickness. Before cooking, every meal was a test of knowledge. The question was not just, can you eat this? The question was, can your body survive what happens after you swallow it? Hyper-realistic live baseball broadcast close up. The camera unexpectedly finds an exceptionally beautiful female Los Angeles Dodgers fan sitting among the crowd during a Dodgers vs Padres game at the stadium. She has supermodel-level beauty, symmetrical facial features, a small refined face, high cheekbones, a defined jawline, large expressive eyes, realistic skin texture, visible pores, subtle freckles, glossy lips, natural luxury makeup, and elegant jewelry. Her long, silky dark hair moves softly in the stadium air. A small blue and white supporter sticker is placed on one cheek. She wears a fitted Dodgers-inspired baseball jersey in deep blue and white. The jersey is completely logo-free. No Nike logo, no New Era logo. No MLB logo, no sponsor logos, no team crest, no branding. She is quietly focused on the game, watching the action on the field during the Dodgers vs Padres matchup. Her eyes follow the play naturally. The broadcast camera captures a candid moment. A subtle smile appears briefly, natural blinking, no posing, no looking directly at the camera, no exaggerated reactions. Authentic baseball fan atmosphere, real stadium crowd, shallow depth of field, compressed telephoto sports lens, Canon RF 7200 mm broadcast camera, luxury sports broadcast aesthetics, 4K live television quality, vertical 9:16 composition, mobile social media repost aesthetic, viral stadium spectator moment. From the reference image, keep the female Dodgers fan's face, hairstyle, outfit, makeup, body proportions, and overall appearance consistent. Hyper-realistic cinematic baseball broadcast video. During a Dodgers vs Padres game at a packed stadium, the camera suddenly notices the exceptionally beautiful Dodgers female fan sitting in the stands. She is focused on the game, then unexpectedly stands up and rushes down from the spectator seats toward the field. The camera follows her closely in a fast handheld broadcast style, moving through the shocked crowd, then tracking behind her as she runs down the aisle and onto the baseball field. Her long, silky hair moves naturally with the speed of her running. Her fitted blue and white Dodgers-inspired jersey moves realistically. Stadium lights shine dramatically. The crowd reacts in confusion and excitement. On the field, Shohei Ohtani is holding a baseball bat near the batter's box. The girl runs toward him, and in one sudden cinematic moment, she grabs the bat from Shohei Ohtani's hands. Ohtani freezes in complete shock. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Manny Machado all stare in disbelief. The Padres and Dodgers players stop moving, stunned by what is happening. The camera stays extremely close to the girl, tracking her face, hands, and body movement as she steps into the batter's box. She grips the bat with surprising confidence. The pitcher throws the ball. In a dramatic slow-motion moment, she swings with incredible power and hits a massive grand slam home run. The sound of the bat crack is explosive. The baseball flies high into the night sky, over the outfield wall, deep into the stands. Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Manny Machado all grab their heads in total shock. Players in both dugouts stand up in disbelief. The crowd erupts into chaos, screaming and cheering. The camera cuts between her powerful swing, the ball flying, Otani's stunned reaction, Betts and Freeman holding their heads, Machado frozen in disbelief, and the stadium crowd going wild. Keep everything hyper-realistic and cinematic. Authentic MLB-style broadcast atmosphere, real stadium crowd, natural motion blur, handheld tracking camera, close camera following the girl tightly, no posing, no looking directly at the camera, realistic facial expressions, dramatic but believable reactions, luxury sports broadcast aesthetics, 4K live television quality, vertical 9:16 composition, mobile social media repost aesthetic, viral baseball stadium moment. The evidence begins with the timeline. Regular cooking appears late compared with the much deeper history of the human lineage. That means the first question is not whether early humans sometimes enjoyed cooked food. For a long stretch of hominin history, they could not rely on fire at all. If meat, plants, insects, marrow, fruit, or water entered the body, they usually entered without heat doing any preparation first. The clearest archaeological clue is meat. Animal bones with stone tool cut marks appear far earlier than secure evidence for routine fire use. A cut mark on bone is not a recipe, but it is a very direct signal. Someone used a tool to remove flesh from an animal. If there was no controlled cooking yet, that meat was eaten raw, or at least uncooked by any regular technology. Percussion marks on bones add another clue because breaking bones open for marrow makes sense when the prize inside is soft, fatty, calorie-dense, and easier to swallow than tough muscle. The second line of evidence comes from the body. Raw food demands more from teeth, jaws, and digestion. Uncooked muscle is harder to chew. Fibrous plants are harder to break down. Raw starch in roots and tubers is less accessible to human digestive enzymes than cooked starch. This helps explain why mechanical processing mattered so much. Cutting, pounding, crushing, scraping, chewing longer, and choosing softer or riper foods were not optional tricks. They were ways to make a raw diet less punishing. Then there is the food safety problem. Raw meat, old carcasses, untreated water, and dirty plant foods could carry bacteria, parasites, and other pathogens. Early humans did not survive this because raw food was secretly safe. They survived because the body had some defenses, because people learned to avoid the worst sources, and because many still became sick. The raw world was not a clean ancestral health plan. It was a risk that had to be managed. Finally, comparative evidence fills in the softer edges. Other great apes eat varied raw diets including fruits, leaves, insects, and occasional meat. Modern foragers also show how much ecological knowledge goes into finding seasonal foods. Put the evidence together and the pre-fire menu looks broad, flexible, and difficult. Raw meat, organs, marrow, fruit, nuts, seeds, insects, honey, leaves, roots, and whatever else could be made edible without flame. The mechanism of eating before fire was simple in one sense and brutal in another. The body had to do the work that cooking would later do outside the body. Heat softens food, breaks down fibers, changes starch, reduces some pathogens, and makes many foods easier to chew, swallow, and digest. Without heat, all of that work had to be handled by teeth, jaws, stomach acid, gut microbes, stone tools, careful food choice, and a great deal of tolerance for risk. Start with chewing. Raw meat is not like cooked meat. It is tougher, stretchier, and harder to break into safe pieces. Connective tissue resists the teeth. Cartilage and sinew make the mouth work longer. Raw plants can be even more stubborn. Fibers hold shape. Seeds need cracking. Nuts need force. Roots and tubers may contain energy, but much of that energy is locked behind structures the body cannot access efficiently unless the food is broken, mashed, chewed thoroughly, fermented, or eventually cooked. Then comes digestion. Cooking does not just make food pleasant, it changes chemistry. Cooked starch becomes easier for digestive enzymes to attack. Cooked meat becomes softer and often easier to process. But before fire, early humans had to extract calories from food that gave up its energy less willingly. That meant more time eating, more mechanical effort, and sometimes less usable energy from the same mouthful. Risk was the other mechanism. Raw meat, old carcasses, dirty water, insects, plant toxins, parasites, and bacteria all entered the ancient diet without the safety net of boiling, roasting, or modern hygiene. Some foods were nutritious and dangerous at the same time. A carcass could give fat and protein, but also sickness. A stream could give water, but also parasites. A plant could give calories, but also poison. So survival depended on narrowing the danger. Choose fresher meat when possible. Prefer soft organs and marrow when muscle was too tough. Crack bones. Pound plants. Watch what animals ate. Remember which foods caused sickness. Share large foods before they spoiled. Follow seasonal resources. Use tools to make raw food less punishing. Before fire, eating was not passive. It was a constant negotiation between hunger, effort, calories, and danger. Cooking later moved some of that burden into the flame. But before that, every meal had to be processed by the body, the hand, the stone, and the memory of what had not killed anyone last time. To make this real, imagine a small group finding a carcass before regular cooking exists. There is no fire waiting nearby to turn the meat safe, soft, and familiar. There is only the animal body, the smell of blood, the pressure of time, and the knowledge that anything not eaten soon will begin moving toward rot. The first task is not cooking, it is access. A stone flake cuts through hide, hands pull at muscle. The best pieces are not always the pieces a modern person would choose. Tough raw muscle takes effort, so softer parts matter more. Organs are valuable because they are easier to chew and dense with nutrients. Bones are smashed open because the marrow inside is rich, fatty, and far easier to swallow than a strip of raw, tender, heavy meat. No one is pretending this is clean. Flies arrive. The smell changes. Everyone understands in a practical way that time is part of the meal. A large piece of meat cannot simply be saved for next week. Without smoking, drying, or refrigeration, the group has a reason to share quickly. The food is not only eaten because people are hungry, it is distributed because waiting means losing it. Now add the rest of the menu. Someone brings fruit because ripe fruit gives energy without needing heat. Someone cracks nuts or seeds with stones. Someone digs a root, pounds it, chews it, and accepts that some of its energy will pass through the body without being fully unlocked. A child pulls insects from wood. Another person finds grubs under bark. Honey, if found, becomes a rare prize because it needs no cooking to become useful energy. Then there is water. A stream nearby looks like safety, but before boiling, water is never just water. It can carry invisible trouble. So people remember which sources made bodies sick, which pools smelled wrong, which flowing water seemed safer, which places animals used too heavily, and which routes led back to better drinking spots. That is the reconstructed scene behind eating before fire. Not a neat ancient diet, not a romantic raw lifestyle, but a series of practical choices under pressure. Cut what can be cut, crack what can be cracked, eat what spoils first, share what cannot be stored, choose what the body can handle, remember what caused sickness. Before cooking, survival was not only finding food, it was making raw food worth the risk. Here is the twist. Fire did not simply make humans better cooks, it changed what counted as food. Before cooking, many things in the environment were technically edible, but not equally useful. A raw root might contain calories, but the body could fail to unlock much of them. A tough strip of meat might be nutritious, but chewing it could cost time and effort. A carcass might feed the group, but only if people reached it before decay made the risk too high. Food existed, but fire later turned more of that food into usable energy. That means the pre-fire diet was not just a primitive version of the modern diet. It was a different survival system. Early humans had to rely more heavily on foods that were already accessible. Ripe fruit, soft organs, marrow, insects, larvae, nuts, seeds, honey, and whatever plants could be chewed, cracked, mashed, or tolerated raw. They also had to use behavior to compensate for what heat could not yet do. Cut the meat smaller, smash the bones, pound the plants, choose the ripe fruit, eat quickly before spoilage, share before food is wasted. Remember which water sources made bodies sick. The deeper twist is that this difficult raw food world may have helped shape the kind of animal humans became before cooking fully transformed the game. A species that could not rely on strength, speed, claws, or a specialized gut had to become flexible. It had to learn, compare, watch, remember, experiment, copy, and cooperate. A raw diet punished mistakes, but it also rewarded intelligence. So fire was not the beginning of human cleverness. It was a powerful upgrade to a cleverness already being tested. Long before cooked meals, early humans were already solving food problems with tools, memory, social sharing, and careful attention to the landscape. Cooking later made survival easier in many ways, but the mind that learned to use fire had already been trained by millions of raw meals that demanded strategy before they could become dinner. So the next time you eat a cooked meal, remember how much hidden work has already been done before the first bite reaches your mouth. Heat has softened the fibers, it has changed the starch, it has made meat easier to tear apart, it has reduced many of the organisms that once made food dangerous, it has turned roots, grains, tubers, and tough pieces of animal tissue into something your body can use with far less effort. That ordinary comfort is easy to miss because cooking feels like the default human condition. A hot meal seems normal, clean water seems normal, Food that can be stored, dried, smoked, boiled, roasted, or reheated seems normal. But for a long stretch of human evolutionary history, none of that was guaranteed. Before fire became routine, eating meant dealing directly with the raw world. Tough meat, hard seeds, fibrous plants, insects, marrow, ripe fruit, risky water, fast spoilage, and constant uncertainty about what the body could tolerate. This does not mean the pre-fire diet was simple, pure, or secretly better. It was not a lost paradise of natural eating. It was a demanding survival system. Early humans had to spend more effort chewing, more attention choosing, more risk swallowing, and more memory avoiding what had made someone sick before. They needed tools not to cook food, but to cut it, crack it, scrape it, pound it, and make it just manageable enough to eat. And this is what makes the story so important. Fire did not turn helpless animals into humans overnight. It amplified abilities that were already there: flexibility, memory, cooperation, experimentation, and the habit of solving food problems with hands and tools instead of teeth alone. Cooking was a revolution, but it arrived after a very long apprenticeship in raw survival. So the question of what humans ate before fire is really a question about what kind of minds could survive before cooking. The answer is not one perfect food list. It is a pattern. Take what the land offers, process what the body cannot easily handle, share what will spoil, remember what is dangerous, and keep learning. Before fire made food safer, softer, and richer, your ancestors survived by turning hunger into strategy, one raw meal at a time.